Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome to a very interesting show tonight. We're going to be talking Jadon Sancho again. We're going to be talking about Michael Olise again, and we're going to be looking ahead to Crystal Palace at the weekend. It's going to be an interesting couple of days for Manchester United, and I guess we'll get started with one of the big talking points at this moment in time, and that is Jadon Sancho, of course, a man who really did have a very good performance last night for Borussia Dortmund in their 1-0 win against PSG in the Champions League semi-finals. And it's starting to raise a question: why couldn't we say this out of Jadon Sancho at United? Why didn't we get these levels? Why didn't we get this level of performance? I guess there's many different ways we can look at this. You know, one of those ways we can look at it is he's been here, he's tried it, and maybe not all players are suited to the Premier League. Not all players are suited to Manchester United at this moment in time. And ultimately, is Sancho one of these players that you can put together with a large range of different players who, because they're not watched every week by the masses, because they're not seen every single week like some of our players are by our own fan base, are they getting looked at through compilation videos, through some of their highlights, through different edits that make them look absolutely fantastic, and it doesn't show them not being able to get past the man, or it doesn't show them having a lack of burst of speed. You know, these are also very real possibilities as well, and I do think this really does creep into a lot of the hype you see around some transfers. You know, I'm seeing people talking about the likes of Rafa Leao being some of the best players in the world, and you look at it from, you know, that kind of point of view, and you're kind of asking, is this really the opinion of someone who watches this player week in, week out? And maybe Sancho's going to be the same as that there. But I'll ask you guys for your opinion again. I feel like we've given our opinion so many times on this issue across this season, but I'm going to ask again. So guys, has it changed at all? Are you guys still Sancho in? Are you Sancho out? Or are you kind of in the middle? You know, maybe if Ten Hag goes, could you see it happening? I don't know, because I don't think Ten Hag going and somebody else coming in, a Thomas Tuchel or whoever it's going to be, as potential next manager, I don't think they're suddenly going to be able to give Sancho a burst of pace. I don't think he's suddenly going to have the explosive acceleration that perhaps he's missed in his game, that has kind of withheld him from showing some of his best form in the Premier League. I don't think that's going to suddenly change with a change in manager, but could you see a better, more applied Jadon Sancho showing off some of the talent that he does have without a shadow of a doubt? Yeah, I think he can. But it's an interesting one. I want to know what you guys think on that one. I'll have Jarl's comment down here below anyway. He said, Sancho, one good game. Yes, good game, but how many times has he played for Dortmund? Now he's supposed to be the Messiah. No, ship that guy out of the club faster than you can say. Kick. Fair enough, buddy. No mixing the words. I still think we've got to sell the guy as well, to be honest. Luman is down there. Hello to you. Thanks for joining in. And guys, thanks very much for sticking with me. Look, I know it's been a really weird couple of weeks and months. Just things going on outside of the channel, but everything is all good seemingly for now. So hopefully we're going to be back to more regular streaming, and finally going to get some of these videos done that I feel like I'm always talking about. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. I guess one thing we can move on to is Michael Olise, because we're talking about right wingers, and according to Muppeteers, according to a lot of the top sources now, you know, it's really coming out within the last couple of days that Michael Olise is genuinely one of the main targets for Manchester United in this summer transfer window, and I think that's important. You know, I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good player, a really talented player, and a player who can go on and have a big future for Manchester United should he be signed. And I think for a release clause of something like 50 million, I think it is, you know, that's well worth it in my opinion. I think that's, not going to say a no-brainer signing, but I think it's a player who comes in and gives us exactly what we need in terms of a different option in the final third, someone who can keep a hold of the ball in those areas, make things stick, play 1-2s, open up opposition defences, bring good crosses, bring good set pieces, his left footed. I think Olise brings a lot to the table that maybe we're missing when we put Garnacho there, that maybe we're missing when we have Antony there. So I think Olise is a very interesting player. I think his signing depends on whether we let Sancho go, if we let Greenwood go, both of which we expect. I don't think Antony's future is safe by any stretch of the imagination, and I think the biggest thing keeping Antony at Manchester United at this moment in time is how poor he's been as a signing, how high his wages will probably be, and how hard it will be to find a buyer for him. That's what I think is keeping Antony more at this club than his actual form on the pitch. But anyway, Elise is an interesting one, a player who I've been a fan of for quite a big time. There are some concerns. One concern you definitely have is, of course, the injuries. Now, I'm not too worried about this. He got a pretty bad hamstring injury last season. He had a repeat of the same injury this season, which ultimately came about from Roy Hodgson overplaying him and rushing him back every single time. There was at least twice this season where Michael Olise got injured in the match he came back in after coming back from injury. And Palace fans, they're all saying the same things. It's more to do with the fact that they were reliant on him because under Hodgson, early season, that was a team in a relegation struggle. They needed their key players. And it's the same for Eze. He's been injured a lot this season, probably for the same reason. So I'm not too worried about that. I think Olise will be a really good signing, but I do think it depends on moving these players out. But like I said, Sancho, Greenwood, those have to be two players we look at moving in this summer. Big ups to Luman as well. He is saying down below, no Sancho for me, even if we get the world's best manager. Sancho is a traitor. I just don't know if he'd be able to fit back in. I really don't. We can't really come out calling the manager basically a liar, even if we're not big Eric Ten Hag fans, or if you're not personally a fan of Ten Hag. I think it's hard to back what Jadon Sancho did. With that there, and I think the big thing that really sticks out to a lot of people is the fact that it wasn't just what he said, it's the fact he didn't see anything wrong with what he actually did and didn't feel the need to apologize, felt like he was the victim in the whole situation. And yeah, I mean, it's a story we've been down so many times. It's a story we've been down over and over and over again, and hopefully it will result in a sale in the summer. Maybe it's not a bad thing that he's playing well. Maybe it's not a bad thing we're having these levels of debate if it brings up some interest in him, if it brings up some a transfer maybe and can up his price. But I mean, he's not going to go into Euros. He's not going to be staying at Borussia Dortmund unless they get another big sale and suddenly have the money to go and buy a Sancho, for instance. But it is one of those there ones, guys. I just can't see Sancho coming back to our club. I really can't. We can like Sancho, we can want him to stay, but I can't see it happening. Hello to Born. What do I think of Matoma? He's better than Olise. He's got pace, skill. Yeah, but he's also a left winger man as well, first and foremost. That's what I think we need. We need a left footer in our attack, and I think Olise is what we need, in my opinion. I will listen to other options. If you tell me you want Nico Williams, or if you tell me you want to see Bakayoko, or I don't know, like Pedro Neto, I guess, could be maybe another option. But if you tell me, you want to see those players, I'll listen to it. I'll hear it out as well. But I do want more left footers in the team. Just help with the balance, help with that there sort of stuff. On the poll, guys, 54% have not changed their mind on Sancho. That's the one I'm sold. 15% say they've changed their mind a little. 31% say, yeah, bring him back. It's one of those, like, I think Sancho's going to outlast Eric Ten Hag at the club, so there will be the opportunity for whoever the next manager might be to bring Sancho back, start over, start afresh, and begin that there. Man Utd says Sancho was a flop since day one. We fans wanted him and literally forced the club to buy him. Such a huge amount in return. He betrayed us and with his on and off the pitch behaviour. It's one of those, like, it's so frustrating to see what actually happened with Sancho in the end, because by all means, and by any metric that you can consider as well, man, Jadon Sancho should have been a player very loyal to Eric Ten Hag for giving him that time off from the first team last year. 3 months it worked out being in the end. He's a man who should have been very loyal to Eric Ten Hag in that situation. And yeah, I mean that's got to be disappointing, and I'm sure that's why Ten Hag has been as strong in his response, and why the club have been as strong in their response to what Sancho ultimately was up to as well. So one of those ones. Big ups to Bath Time. I need a quick rundown of the news and what's happened today. We've got some interesting stories, buddy. One of them, I guess, is something to keep an eye out on. There's an account on Twitter called Alternate MUFC. They kind of do like AI commentaries over match highlights and just kind of take the piss out of what's going on. But the guy who runs that channel basically has come out with a story today that Marcus Rashford was spotted out drinking today with a couple of friends. I don't know. I mean, the photo that he uploaded isn't the best, but I mean, that's maybe one that you could keep an eye out on anyway. We do have some interesting stories here. Victor Lindelof set to leave. Wan-Bissaka, both out of contracts and will be allowed to leave as well. Bad Time said, oh, the fake com videos. Yeah, that's the same guy. I don't know, like, it's kind of a weird one, to be honest, but we'll keep an eye out on it. McTominay didn't train this week. They're expecting him back on training on Saturday. He is a doubt for Monday, but we all know Bruno Fernandes never rule him out. Johnny Evans is back in training, and Martial was also back in training. Could we see a Martial redemption arc? Could we see Martial go for one last dance and get something done in the FA Cup? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to call any of that there stuff, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, it is the guy who does the fake commentary videos. You're right, Batham. Guys, I can see a load of likes on here. Hello to Bart as well. What's the opinion on Premier League moving stateside? Would love to see a game between Luton and Sheffield and Chile, Minnesota. Batham says he's meant to be out for 4 weeks. Yeah, he's meant to get a scan or something, man, wasn't he? I don't know. I don't know, man. He was meant to get something, like, I know that for a fact, that he was meant to get a scan. There was talk about his knee being injured, and that it wasn't looking good, and etc. But I don't know, man. Like I really don't. We know this club doesn't adhere to like the fitness protocols that normal clubs do. We play players in consecutive days. Anything could have happened. McTominay's leg could have fell off, and like they're going to expect him to go out there on Monday night and play. Who knows? Hello to Rajat. Rajat has also changed his profile picture, I can see as well. No doubt he'll come back. Yeah, look, I'm sure McTominay will come back as well. Like, he'll probably be involved in the last couple of matches of the season, maybe against Arsenal or Brighton, or you could see him potentially in the FA Cup as well. Maybe something to keep an eye out on. For sure. Look, any more thoughts, guys? Make sure to drop them in. Jadon is overrated. Had 4 or 5 goals in 20 matches. Yeah, it's one of those there ones. Like, from that kind of tally, it doesn't look good. No doubt about it. Goals, assists, maybe they're not up there with where they should be. I would argue the same probably goes with his overall level of performance. I think that's different as well. It's easy just to look at the goals and assists. Would be keen to see what his performance has been like on the whole for Dortmund as well, but I don't know. One maybe to think about, keep an eye out on. For Jadon Sancho, Batham said hyperextensive knee. That's normally 3 or 5 weeks out. Yeah, and now they're talking about him being back in training on Monday. So I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know. It's so hard to know. Like, with this Manchester United team, with what we've been up to as well, in terms of handling our injuries and dealing with them, it's not been good across the board. It really hasn't. Most of you guys are saying that you would still be selling Sancho. Fair play, because honestly, that's something we don't really get to see too much. People do like to go for hot takes and flip flop between stuff. One good performance means all of a sudden a player is back or whatever. It's one of those, like, I've been saying, like, oh, Sancho should never have gone in the first place. Should have got rid of every other player bar Sancho in the recent, in the last couple of hours and across today and last night whenever I was putting the show together. So it's one of those, it happens all the time. It really does. People just want to jump and be quick and be first for this kind of stuff. Anyway, I guess we'll quickly move on. So Monday night, as we've been talking about, United take on a very informed Crystal Palace team, who have been doing well under new management. Make no mistake about it, we're not going to go to Sellers Park and have a good time of it, or an easy time of it, should I say. But then again, we could probably go against their under 18s and struggle in that match as well. So Crystal Palace, bank holiday Monday night football. I mean, Palace, according to the stats anyway, have a higher percentage chance of winning this match. Their form's been pretty good in the last couple of weeks as well. I think we're something like 6 or 7 matches without a win in the league. But Palace, obviously, they beat Newcastle. They stuck 5 past Crystal Palace, drew with Fulham, beat Liverpool. Yes, they were beat by Man City, but then they drew with Forest. They beat think they beat Burnley pretty recently as well. So it's good, pretty good form from Crystal Palace. Managed to get themselves away from the drop zone, and they're moving on up the league table as well. Obviously, look, these matches don't really matter too much. Like, we're not really playing for stuff. I know we got Eric Ten Hag talking about wanting to finish as high in the league table as possible, but I mean, at the same time, you're talking the difference of playing sixth or seventh. I really couldn't care less at this point in time. I have some comments. Who have I got? Rajat said got big ego on his Dortmund level. Like, some players just suit playing at a different club. It's one of those. If it's the best thing for Sancho to go back there and Dortmund want him, then let's see if we can do a deal. I can't see him coming back and being a player for Manchester United moving into the future. It's one of those there ones. What have I got? About time. I always remember that 2015 Stoke team has had at least one player in the Champions League. Yeah, it's insane, man. It's Hoslo this year as well. Bart said Glasner ball mainly based on counter-attacks. Both Olise and Eze are deadly. Yeah, they are. And they've got some good players in their Crystal Palace as well. I've been impressed with Adam Wharton as well. In what little he's actually been involved with as well. Recently, but he certainly has been a good signing that they've brought in, and it just goes to show you the depth of talent within the EFL system that we haven't really been exploiting, and teams like Palace have been exploiting for a long time. They really do get the most of it. Bourne is down. Their problem with the club is when a player is linked to United, automatically becomes overhyped and signed as if he's given ridiculous wages. Yeah, look, I mean, it's one of those. Anybody who we want does get overhyped. There's definitely a strong argument to be made there, man. There really is. On the whole, I would agree with that there as well. I feel like we want to get sucked into things, and I guess it's one of those ones as well. Based upon the last 10 years of recruitment, should we really have been getting excited when we signed a lot of players last summer or the season before? Probably not, because our success rate from transfers has been absolutely abysmal. Like, it really has been. Rajat said that Olise come from City Academy. He came from Reading to Palace, but I'm not sure where he was before that as well. Rajat said gotta lose, gotta win it from Madrid. I mean, anything is possible at this time, man. It really is. I mean, Ancelotti could just raise an eyebrow and all of a sudden they just up their levels and find ways. They're one of those teams. They're pretty annoying to watch. They must be horrible to play against as well, because they're just so inevitable that they're gonna score. Like you just know they can be out of a match for ages before just eventually coming through. Yeah, you're correct, by the way, Rajad, as well. Olise was at Arsenal's academy in 2009. Then he had 7 years at Chelsea's academy, 1 season at City's academy, ended up at Reading for 2 years before making his first team debut as well. I have Bart down there. Are you happy that Ipswich Town are in the cusp of a return to the Premier League after a couple of decades? They are a big story club. Yeah, I mean, it's good for football. Like, I'm glad to see Kieran McKenna doing well, obviously. But I'm very glad to see some variety in the teams coming up. We don't want to see Sheffield United, Burnley go down one season, and see Norwich come up the next season, see West Brom come up the next season, go see all the teams who went down last year coming back up. So it's good to say that that's not going to happen. And I mean, it's a fantastic achievement. People don't really talk about the difference between the leagues. Like, there's such a difference anyway between League One and Championship level. It's an absolute credit to McKenna that they're in that position, and it's also an absolute credit as well when you consider how difficult it is to do back-to-back promotions. Like, it's practically unheard of in this day and age to do back-to-back promotions. Very, very, very rarely, if ever, does that actually happen. So, it's one of those there ones. Rajad said Madrid do very well when they're backs against the wall. Yeah, they do. They've just got a certain sense of inevitability that they're just going to turn up and do it. They've always had that, and they probably always will have that as well. Anyway, guys, we got 14 likes on today's video. Much appreciated. 18 votes in the poll as well. 56% said that no, they would still be selling Olise. Sancho. 16% would, yeah, maybe change their mind a little bit, and then 26% have said, yeah, let's bring him back. Interesting thoughts anyway, for sure, guys. Really, really is. Um, it's one of those there ones um, that, yeah, you're going to see flip flopping on. You're going to see people change their opinion on. You're going to see people um, go from several months ago saying, got to get Sancho out right now, is an absolute disgrace, to all of a sudden it's just, yeah, let's bring him back. Bart said, I think Ancelotti would suit players that are self-driven, good readers of the game. An ideal coach would have his motivational skills and Pep's tactical nous. Yeah, it's one of those, like, Ancelotti, he said something like a while ago, and I think he said something to the effects of, if you have good players and you let them play good football, you'll win matches. And it's not really about a system. It's not really about X player moves here, player Y moves here, player Z moves here, they rotate, they move, etc. It's not about that. It's more based upon relationalism. You see this in some clubs now. It's kind of becoming, it's kind of coming back into the players. It's interesting because football comes in cycles, and maybe 10, 20 years ago we had a lot of relationalism in football, and it was kind of individualism as well, we might want to call it, was kind of pushed out of the way by tactical systems and overarching themes of how a club wants to play. But maybe now you're going to see a return to that there, where it's just difficult to predict and difficult to know what you're going to get from a team based upon those principles as well. Rajad don't deserve to come back after 1 or 10 good games. Lol. Bart said, this should help United get some money back for Sancho. If I was in charge, I'd extend his loan for another year, lower the wages, and sell him to a Premier League club for 40 million. Rajad said, Ancelotti plays to his players' strengths and playing them where they do well. Basic kind of footy. It's interesting, yeah, because that is kind of what he does, but it works, and it works so well at the highest level when you have the best players to necessarily go out and do that there. It's an interesting one, for sure. And if you go back and watch Ancelotti's Madrid team over the last couple of years, the way they play, there's been big differences. It's a couple of seasons ago, yeah, do you want Karim Benzema will play with number 9? Yeah, sure. Last season they didn't really have that. This season, all of a sudden, it's yeah, we're going to put Bellingham in here as as kind of like a false 9, almost like an attacking 10 between two wide forwards in Rodrigo and Vinicius, and we're just going to attack like that there. And it just works. Like, if you play to your players' strengths and you cover their weaknesses, then you're going to optimize your team in a lot of regards. Bourne said, Sancho's never played a 10 out of 10 performance in 90 minutes, just flashes. Dortmund should just buy him. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I would be surprised if they do, because I don't think they're going to have the money for it. And I don't think, without United playing a large proportion of his wages, which we are unfortunately doing, that we could afford Jadon Sancho to be at Dortmund, or well, Dortmund could afford him to be there, sorry, should I say. But yeah, Ten Hag was speaking anyway in today's press conference. I'm not a big fan of some of it anyway. Ten Hag on top 6-7, of course, is important. We have 2 opportunities, one in the league and one in the FA Cup final. There's no glory to be had in this league season. I don't get what he's talking about. He's saying, yeah, it'll have an impact on the budget, but I'm sure United's an attractive team. Yeah, but like, financials are financials. We have to abide by this stuff, unfortunately, as well. On the challenges ahead, Ten Hag said, always a lot of work. It sounds a little bit like it's normal, but when you go into a transfer window, but the injuries have had a big impact. We also know we are below the levels and the expectations United has, so we have to catch up with that there. I don't know. I've just hit my mic. It's one of those, it's like, I struggle to really see how, I do struggle to see how the injuries are constantly to blame for absolutely everything, because every club's had injuries, but even when we've had our best players, we've still struggled on the pitch. Bart said, has Palace ever done the double? This might be the best chance. I don't know if they have. It's possible. Doing a Spurs watch along? Nah, I'll not do a Spurs watch along tonight, buddy. I think we'll do a watch along Monday night anyway. That'll be fun. Anyway, Mount's back in training today after a small knock. It was Mark Ogden anyway talking about Olise. He said Olise is understood to have a release clause in his contract which becomes active after the end of the season. United's new ownership have identified Olise as a key target in their summer rebuild. United will be considered front runners to sign Olise should the Palace winger decide to leave in this upcoming window. It's unclear exactly how much a deal to cost San Olise will cost, but the figure is significantly higher than the 35 million in his previous. One source has put that at around about 50 million pounds to buy him. I don't think that's a bad deal, because I think to buy Olise outright, or a player of that level of talent at that age with Premier League, proven experience, I think that's a lot of money. If it's not for a release clause, I think 50 million is not a bad price, but it all depends, because I think the areas we need to strengthen in more is going to be centre back. That has to be first priority. Building from the back, that needs to be what we do. 2 centre halves, 3 centre halves, maybe a left back, and number 6. I think that's a decent start to the window anyway. Bart is down there. Do you think some clubs should sign up Makulo? He is going through a lean spell with Falkirk and Haller ahead of him. The guy's a talent. Yeah, he is a big talent. I think there was stories about us being interested in him potentially at one point, but it never happened. Good evening to Chat Sport as well. Good to see you, buddy. Bart said AFTV will do a watch along as they are pro Spurs. Interesting. I don't know, man. Like, Sancho looked good, said Chat Sport. Yeah, look, he did. I'm not going to dispute the fact that he looked pretty good in that match last night. Did PSG make him look good? Probably. Has he been playing at that level for Dortmund every single week? No, not really. He hasn't done it week in, week out at that level. And yeah, look, we can turn to actually like pointing at the stats or pointing at the numbers, goals, assists, or whatever. But there's also other stuff we want to get looking at as well. Bart is down there. Palace want 60 million for Lisa based on Talksport. Doesn't his injury-prone nature worry me? No, it doesn't. Palace can want what they want, but I think we'll get him for 50 if that's what the release clause is. But his injury-prone nature, no, it's not too concerning to me, and I'll tell you why. The reason is that it's repetition of the same injury to his hamstring, and he keeps getting knocks, and a lot of them came early in the season because he was overplayed and rushed back from that injury every time. It was a lean time for Crystal Palace where they really struggled to pick up points and they needed their key players. Rajad said give Frimpong or 2 or 3 centre-backs. Midfielder 1 minimum, midfielder in January and a centre forward. Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of areas you want to be looking at. I can't really see us buying Frimpong, to be honest, because I don't think we need a right back anywhere near as much as we need a left back. And I know that even though Frimpong isn't what we would call a traditional right back, he's basically played right wing this season for Bayer Leverkusen. Like, we would be signing him to play as a right back. I don't think he's defensively good enough either, to be honest. I really don't. I like him though. I think he's a good player, and I think if you put him on the wing, then yeah, you'd have a really good player there. But top player this season anyway for them. 21 votes in today's poll. 29% said bring Sancho back. Don't know who those guys are. 14% say yeah, a little, and 57% are saying no, still sell him as well. Anyway, United are hopeful youngster Shota Shoretire will sign a new contract with the club. Shoretire, 20 years old, is out of contract at Old Trafford at the end of the season. Despite his contract expiry date beginning to loom, United hope an agreement can be reached. I actually forgot Shoretire was still at the club as well. And he must have been so young when he came through initially under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Because I remember he came through and played in a couple of matches, and he looked good. And, like, for a while, he was considered one of our bigger talents in the entire youth academy. But I mean, I can't really say signing Shoretire as a contract at this point necessarily good business. Anyway, Rajad, if Bruno leaves and Sancho is a 10, I can't say it, buddy. To be honest, Bart said if we can get him 46 to 50, give Michael Olise. Frimpong does qualify as a homegrown due to his time at City and Celtic. Yeah, he probably does. Anyway, got a couple more stories want to run through tonight as well. Marcus Rashford not in training today, still feeling discomfort after a knock in the FA Cup semi-final. So no Rashford on Monday night, I would assume. at that rate of going. Ten Hag has left the door for Sancho to make an apology for heading out of the coach on social media. However, club sources say relationship between the pair may be on repair, and a fresh start from Sancho could be the best start for all parties. I can't see any apology coming at this point. I really can't. United expect Sancho to leave the club regardless of whether Ten Hag remains in charge or not. The Dutchman future's manager is in massive doubt after a very disappointing season, but United are still planning and preparing for Sancho's departure as well. That's according to Rob Dawson of ESPN. So some interesting quotes from that point of view anyway. I really wouldn't dispute it either. I think Sancho probably won that we got to move on. I think you guys mostly agreeing with that one anyway. Bart said Sancho doesn't have the skills, Bruno does, certainly doesn't have the availability. No, availability is one of the biggest skills you can have in football, and Bruno is always available and has even played through a broken hand this season. Yep, you could say Sancho is a more graceful player, that Sancho is a more elegant player, but Bruno has also scored 7 or 8 goals in April alone. Bruno also has provided, I think, at least 25 goals and assists every single season he's been here. So his effectiveness cannot be questioned whatsoever. Can Bruno Fernandes, nor can his availability. And yeah, I mean, I think Bruno gets a pretty rough ride of it because he's seen to be someone who complains, someone who gets annoyed and frustrated with refereeing decisions. But I just don't know, guys. I really can't. Guys, big ups and 17 likes as well. Much appreciated. Don't know what's going on with YouTube today. We've got 34 views as well. Honestly, gotta love it though. Gotta love it. Yeah, Evans, Martial in training as well. Was there anything else I wanted to run through? I don't really think so. There's a couple of photos coming out as well of what our apparent away kit's going to be next season. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of like a royal blue navy type shirt, coloured as well. Obviously, it's got the new Snapdragon logo on it, so that's I just kind of like it. I think it might be worth a look at next season. Let me see. Rajad, most chances created, whether you like him or not. Yeah, people don't like him, but it's an effective player. Bart said, if he would you like if United appoint a sports psychologist? The players and the manager needed. I've heard some Dutch people say Ten Hag looks a broken man. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do. We brought in Sasha Lenz under Ralph Rangnick, and by all accounts, you could read Psychology 101, and you'll probably have the same amount of qualifications Sasha Lenz did have to be a psychologist, a sports psychologist at Manchester United. Rajad said De Bruyne rates Bruno ahead of Odegaard. It's one of those. It's like Bruno's a guy who makes chances, makes goals, makes assists. Yeah, he might lose the ball, he might be petulant, but you can't question the effectiveness of him either. What have we got here from Bart as well? We're talking about personal characteristics. Rajat said school uniform with Snapdragon logo for me. It's not really like mine either. I guess one player I wouldn't mind having a little talk about as well is Christian Eriksen, and I think he's a player that's probably going to leave us in the summer. And it's a shame because I do like Eriksen, but I just think, looking at it, all things considered, you got a 32, 33-year-old midfielder there on £180,000 per week coming into the last year of his contract. I can't see us renewing his contract. I think it might be time to sell if we can. And according to what's been said online as well, he wants to play some more as well. Bourne said it's a true. Sir Jim asked Ollie why he failed at United. He might have done. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like he can make a more of an assessed judgment, like himself as well, being involved in the situation. The support mechanisms were not there around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. A lot of the recruitment at the end wasn't right, and we had a fundamentally broken team there. What we really needed in that last summer under Ollie was someone to come in and replace Nemanja Matic in the team, because we had no anchor, we had no one who could be a quality number 6 in there, and we tried to move towards a style of football that we couldn't play. We also had Cristiano Ronaldo come in and disrupt a very good attacking forward line that was developing there. Now, look, other things happened. Martial suddenly never really played more than 5 matches in a row after that again. Mason Greenwood obviously had his whole situation. Marcus Rashford's form went off a cliff. And yeah, I mean, everything that was bad and everything that could have went wrong at the one time, all seemed to go wrong at that same time. Um, Chatsport said Ericsson will go to Spurs. Bar said personal recommendation: try moshbaha. It's Arabian food, chickpea based seasoning that can be a dish, a dip, or an appetizer. It's really good. Thank you very much, man. I'll have to try it out. Honestly, Bart comes in here with some fantastic food recommendations, and you've got to applaud it as well. Really do. Um, I don't know. I can see a bullshit video here from True Jordy and Thogden. That's kind of like absolutely expected as well. About Sancho and Rashford's friendship ruining Ten Hag. I don't know. I just don't get that clear one either. What have we got? 23 votes in today's poll. 57% said they would still sell Jadon Sancho. Let me have a quick check for another story that I was looking at earlier. Let me see if I can quickly pull this up. It was an interesting one. Not Olise. Where was it? Yeah, I think it's this. Yeah, it's this Greenwood one. So it's Mason Greenwood. So obviously, a player we all know is going to be leaving in the summer because we basically have got this guy on a contract. He's going to come back from Getafe. They can't afford to buy him, so we're going to have to get a seller. We're going to have to try to do this all over again. Mason Greenwood cannot play for this football club again because of what has happened in the past. It won't be good for him. It won't be good for the club. Won't be good for anybody. The best thing we can do is move Mason Greenwood on. The best thing for Mason Greenwood to do is to move on. It's probably the single easiest and single best way to solve the situation where he can go off and have a career elsewhere. Manchester United can sell him on and get some much needed revenue into the club and reinvest that. Now, there are some forerunners for his signature, and this is according to the Express. Two of those are Barcelona and Juventus. So could you see a move for 35 million pounds for Mason Greenwood? Absolutely I could. I think they'll look at him as a player with a lot of potential, a player with a lot of ability, and a player who they probably wouldn't get for that kind of price at any other time if it wasn't for the circumstances surrounding him. Now, there doesn't seem to be any issue with Mason Greenwood at those clubs. I think they're kind of taking the opinion of this happened when he was in Manchester. This happened when he was a younger man. He's grown, matured, whatever. I think it's the best thing for us to then move this guy on. I really do. Chatsport said Greenwood going to Juventus. That's one of the talked about ones. Bart said Ollie would have succeeded if he had another centre back and DM. The forward line pre-Ronaldo was superb, dovetailing nicely at depth too. Ollie could have blooded in the likes of Mina and Garner. Yeah, he probably could have and probably would have. Garnacho came through towards the end of that season. You could have seen Garnacho getting minutes under Ollie as well. Big ups to Niall McCabe, down robbed of an ultra final spot. Stop the count. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Can't argue with that there one either. Anyway, was there something else to quickly run through? Don't think so. No, actually, I think that's actually us, guys. Any more thoughts? Just drop them in, guys. We'll just go through it if you guys want to talk about it. I've kind of like gone through the list of things that I've worked out here. So anything at all, fire them in there. Chat sport. Been talking about injuries, are we? Yeah, but I mean, I have to agree with what Bart was saying as well, because by all stretches of the imagination, we definitely were going the right way under Ollie, and we needed a certain type of player. We needed a certain position, a certain profile. We needed a number 6. We probably needed another centre back. Luke Shaw was pretty injury prone that season, but I guess we still had Alex Tellez. It's one of those ones. It's like we could have maybe had a better run of it that season if we went out and bought the right signings, but we kind of went. Varane was the best signing we made that season, and he was injured a lot that year as well. Obviously, look, yeah, Ronaldo scored the goals that year, but was gone the season after. Sancho didn't perform that season. Didn't really perform last season. Went away. For 3 months, came back, didn't really perform, started this season off, fell out with the manager, and now has been put on loan to Borussia Dortmund. So, that's kind of of frustration there. Bart said, dessert tip for the summer: try spaghetti Els or ice. It's a German dessert, basically spaghetti shaped ice cream, although it's fresher than an actual ice cream. Nice one. I actually googled it. It looks pretty good, man. I might have to try that there one. Jassport said, if you had 150 million, who in the chat who in the chat am I spending it on? Am am I getting someone from the chat to play? I mean, if we've got 150 million, like I've been saying the same kind of things for weeks. I would say, Toshin, Aderbao, get him on a free. Jared Brandtwaite, try get him for about 60 million. I would look at getting Miguel Gutierrez out of Girona, whatever that's going to be, or Anthony Robinson from Fulham. I like both players. And then maybe I would say you go get like an Amadou Onana if you can, or you go get a Viper if you can, or Fafana's maybe not a bad suggestion either, from Monaco. And then if you can get a forward in, then yeah, I mean, if you're talking forward, someone affordable, someone with experience and a different profile than what we got, I think Jean-Lucas Kamaka is the one I'd be taking, to be honest. And the reason I say that is because very underrated player, done very well for Atalanta this season, and whilst it didn't work out at him for West Ham, they didn't play for his strengths. You know, they've seen a big tall striker and thought that they've got a target man, they've got the next Kevin Nolan that they're just going to launch the ball at. Bourne said Ollie was just too nice. He offered Phil Jones and Martial a new deal, got rid of Romero. That wasn't really Ollie either, though, to be fair, like, because it would have been Woodward, etc., doing a lot of those deals as well. Bar's raised an interesting question, having to sell off players as well. Morten Hjulmand, yeah, I like Morten Hjulmand. You know, he could be a good option at midfield. Certainly would be anyway. Do like the player, but I haven't seen as much of him, to be fair, either. Look, guys, I think what we'll do is just leave the stream here. But will I be live tomorrow? I think I will be. Yeah, I'll be live tomorrow anyway. And yeah, we'll do one on Saturday. So we'll do that there, one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. Much appreciated, and I'll catch everyone in the next one.